kill
By
them.
what standard are you even saying it's wrong? Can you actually tell me by what standard you're saying it's wrong?
I'll tell you what, I murder and rape as much as I want.
Are you
You know
God?
how much that is?
Are you the author of
Yes.
life?
Yes, I am actually.
You're the
I,
author
I
of life.
yeah, in about 50 years, I invent a time machine. I go back in time and I start the Big Bang and create all life in the universe as I like. Can you disprove that?
Are you omnipotent?
Yes. Can you disprove this?
You're omnipotent.
Yes.
Okay, then I don't know. Give me a cheeseburger right now. I want a cheeseburger since you're omnipotent.
No, you don't deserve it.
I don't.
Craig is back to get completely owned by another Christian, this time Orthodox Luigi. Will we see Craig make many of the mistakes that he has made in his past debates? Let's see how this goes down.
Someone to actually come with a presentation and stuff. I apologize that I didn't this time because of my issues. Okay, so you started with saying that basically, how do we know what's more? We're just a collection of atoms, and everything is just by an accident. Could you tell me why, even if we are, or why you think, even if we are just a collection of atoms and that's an accident, why that would be something that is incapable of then developing morals and ethics? You didn't really explain why that negates the possibility of morals and ethics becoming a thing.
It becomes completely reliant on just human inclination, which is the result of simply an accidental process that can't be trusted. So, like, I brought up several examples where to a child, their inclination is that that needle is harming them, but it's a life-saving vaccine. So, should we trust our feelings or should we not trust our feelings?
Well, it's not just all about feelings, it's about what is going to help humanity thrive. And I could counter that with the fact that I go to the gym 5 days a week and it hurts me every single time. But I know it's for the greater good of improving my overall fitness and health. And the secular humanism is about reducing overall harm. Yeah, vaccine might hurt because it stabs you, but it's going to give you a better chance to go on in the future and be better. But then when you're able to make your own decisions, you don't have to get a vaccine and no one's going to force it.
We have to use a code word. Instead of that word that starts with a V,
Right.
we have to use serum.
Sorry.
Serum.
That was me
Apologies.
who brought it up. I'll take the bullet on that one.
No, you're right. My bad. I talk about, I do try and forget saying that word. Yes. So, all right. But then you made the you did the same thing that Andrew did when I spoke to him, and you said, well, what if we take someone and experiment on them to help everybody else? You do realize that goes against one of the tenets of secular humanism, which is about personal autonomy. So it would be something that secular humanists wouldn't do. We wouldn't take people prisoner to experiment on them.
Couldn't you make an argument that could be applied? Doesn't a child have personal autonomy to decide whether or not they want to receive a vaccine?
No, a child doesn't have the personal autonomy because they don't have the cognitive functions to have that personal autonomy. They don't know what is good or not for them. However, once an adult is an adult, they can make those decisions for themselves.
Okay, well, if a child doesn't have bodily autonomy, I hear bodily autonomy and I get really triggered from that one Andrew Wilson Diddley Donger debate. She said it so freaking much. I can't say that without thinking because it goes against my bodily autonomy. It brings back flashbacks. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, so if a child doesn't have bodily autonomy, then why would it not be okay then to experiment on children then? If they don't have bodily autonomy, then why can't parents consent on the child's behalf to send children to then experiment on them if there was a reason why it would bring greater good to humanity?
As parents, we take on the responsibility of our children's health until they are capable of doing that themselves. The child doesn't have the cognitive functions to decide if that is good or not.
I understand that there's an answer to it. What I'm
an adult is an adult. They can make those decisions for themselves. As parents, we take on the responsibility of our children's health until they are capable of doing that themselves. The child doesn't have the cognitive functions to decide if that is good or not.
I understand that there's an answer to it. What I'm saying is these are ambiguous answers that are a result of an accidental process. So what I'm trying to expose is how ambiguous it is.
Um, but why is ambiguity a bad thing when there's so many people and so many things to consider? There's no one overreaching voice saying this is what you do. It is humanity getting together and seeing what has happened to us and what we can learn from that to then be better in the future.
But better
Sorry.
is itself a value statement. That is itself a value statement. So like, what do you mean by better? Because you said
to be able to thrive more, to be able to to be able to be in a position where you can increase birth rates when it is appropriate, when there is enough resources and things like that. Secular humanism is about humanity thriving, and the thing that you put forward in your intro was about taking away that thriving ability and saying, well, that's also secular humanism, because it goes against what religion says. Well, you kind of miss the point of secular humanism being about making humanity, giving it the ability to thrive in the best way that it can, without having to rely on one voice from a deity that possibly doesn't exist.
But I don't know what thrive means, because now you're saying that the experiments, that's actually against a tenet of secular humanism, but it would result in quote unquote thriving because it would save the masses from dying from this pandemic. So I don't know what you mean by thrive.
Well, that's why there's the tenets there. That's why there's the guidance of, yes, we want humanity to be able to advance and people be thrive, people be more happy, be more healthy. We all know what thrive means. We don't need to get bogged down in semantics of what words means. But we can't do that. We're taking away people's personal autonomy, which is one of the tenets of secular humanism. So we can't do that. We're not going to try and say, oh, well, this could be better at the, that person's harm. Would take away that one person's autonomy to make sure everyone else is better. That goes against the tenets of secular humanism.
Okay, I mean, this is your cross-exam, so I don't want to like push too much on these arguments. So,
right, okay. So the other thing you went on to really was about the Christian, about birth rates, right? And here's the thing: no one's going to disagree that secular countries overall, the countries that are more secular, because there's no secular governments, there's no Christian governments, it's governments elected by people, whatever, or dictators, but the countries that are more secular do tend to have, at the moment, lower birth rates. Are you aware of any of the things that are in place to change that, is my question, because it's something that you and a lot of other Christians bring up as something against secular humanism. And although I can agree that that is the case, are you aware of the measures in place to try and change that?
well, there's currently, that's the issue, is that it's going down at an increasing rate. So like from 2019 to 2024, it's gone from 1.70 to 1.43. So whatever we're doing isn't working.
Yeah, that's why there's more things in more recent times. Like if you look at secular countries like Japan and France, trying to put forward a 4-day week work, so the a 4-day week work, so that there's more time at home to make babies. There's a lot of countries that are literally secular countries like Scandinavia and stuff
I don't know why they need a full day. Just give us 5 minutes.
that are now literally throwing money at parents to have more children, because they have taken note that the birth rate has fallen, and even more significantly over more recent years. So the past 2 to 3 years since COVID has moved away, there's been a lot of work within a lot of the secular countries to try and increase the birth rate in natural ways by making more time for couples to be together, giving tax breaks to couples, saying that if you have more babies, we will give you more money to look after them, making childcare easier. So the fact that you keep going back to, not just you, but other Christians, you keep going back to the birth rate thing, it means that you haven't really looked into what is happening now in the secular countries.
Well, you brought up in your debate with Jim Bob that if a man wanted to leave his family, because that was what was going to make him happy, that under the secular humanist framework, there was nothing wrong with that. So if people are just having children because they like the idea of having a kid and not for the sake of future society, then that itself is problematic.
I didn't say that though. You know, my point was that secular countries are putting in place measures for couples to have more babies, and to have more time for couples to be in place, and there is tax breaks for being married and having a family and allowing that to be a thing. But at the same time, secular humanists allow for things like adoption, and non-standard families that deal with the people that don't want the babies, which studies show the majority of children that end up being orphaned actually come from Christian parents. So how do you feel about that?
That what studies say what? That they come from
Studies show
orphans, come from
that
Christian parents?
more of the orphan children come from Christian or religious families.
What studies say that? Studies in Canada?
I don't have my notes with me. I wanted to present a bunch of this, but I was reading a bunch of studies that show that adoption rates from non-standard families, like gay couples and stuff like that, the children that they're adopting, the children themselves came from Christian parents who
Yeah, I haven't seen these studies, but I really want to press X to doubt.
put the children up for adoption for whatever reason. And that seemed to be the higher amount of children up for adoption was from Christian or religious families.
I mean, I presented several quotes from secular scholars that say the opposite about Christians and their
secular scholars versus actual studies.
No, they're citing studies. They're citing studies in the quotes. They're talking about studies. What's that?
When were these from?
These were from.
Because I'm citing like well, I wish I had my stuff with me instead of packing it away. But the things that I've been looking at are the recent years, the past 2 to 5 years. The majority of orphaned children come from religious families, and then picked up by non-religious and non-standard families. So
I don't think that's true. But regardless, like I pointed out at the end of my opening statement, like there's bad Christians who do bad things. So that doesn't disprove Christian ethics any more than a bad doctor disproves medical practice as a whole. So.
Okay, so the other one thing I wanted to ask you really was, do you agree that Christian ethics comes from God?
Yes. Yeah, I believe it comes from God, yes.
And this is the same God that, drowned the entire world when he was in a bad mood, right?
Well, that's not what occurred. The
great there was a flood that killed everyone because he didn't like something that happened, right?
I mean, do you realize how much time people had to repent and how many opportunities God gave them to repent?
It doesn't matter. None of that matters.
It does matter.
It doesn't matter how much time people had to repent, whatever. The fact is that
it does matter.
Your God, which you are based
wrap up. So we did run out of time on that.
What a bad faith way to put it. Just, your God flooded the earth because he was in a bad mood. Yeah, God was just in a bad mood one day. He just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and was just like, yeah, I'm just going to flood the earth, Like, that is obviously not what happened, but these secular humanists always have to attack God and the Bible in such a way that completely demonizes God, which is horrible, by the way.
First cross-exam. We have to move in the next section.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was
we're gonna have 30 minutes of open dialogue after this, Craig, so we're gonna have time to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kick into the 10 minutes where Luigi will now cross-examine Craig. Floor is all yours.
Okay, can you define harm?
Can I define harm?
Mm-hmm.
Harm is something that causes unhappiness, causes pain. I mean, again, the arguing semantics of words is irrelevant. We all know what harm means.
That's
would you define harm as something different to me?
That's an ad populum fallacy to it. Yeah, actually, people do perceive harm differently. I mean, I already gave the example of the child, and I don't think you have a sufficient answer for. I mean, if the ultimate goal is thriving society, you can't have a thriving society if everyone's going to be wiped out by a pandemic. So you have to perform these experiments on these people. So That's an ambiguous standard. There's no standard there.
That's not true. We have other ways of surviving pandemics without it performing experiments on people.
So-
I mean, you and Jim, Bob, and Andrew keep asking for the definition of simple words like harm. We all know what harm is. It's something
That's
that
an ad populum fallacy.
They get so irritated when you ask for the definition of words, and they don't understand why these people ask that. They don't understand why Andrew or Jim Bob or Luigi over here ask that. It's because in your world of secular humanist society, whatever causes the least harm is one of the contributing factors into what causes your society to make a decision on something. Well, is it going to cause a lot of harm? Nope. Well, that's something that will factor into our decision. And so it has to ask, well, what do you define as harm? Because the harm isn't black or white.
It doesn't matter if it's a fallacy. You're committing the fallacy. Right? It's when you do that, you're simply committing the fallacy. You're saying because I've said something that you consider to be fallacious, therefore the argument is incorrect.
Okay, populum is not something I consider to be fallacious. It is a logical fallacy.
No. What I'm saying is you are considering what I've said to be fallacious, and therefore you are considering the argument incorrect, whereas that is in itself fallacious. Just because an argument may contain some fallacious bits, it does not mean the argument in itself is incorrect. So I would appreciate it if you allow me to finish my argument before you try to cut me off by claiming it's a fallacy.
Okay. And we have the first, Craig, can you please not interrupt me, please, of the debate.
We all know what harm means. We are all aware of what harm is. It's something that causes physical, emotional, psychological, social, or financial damage to you or a group. Simple. We all know what harm is and how to reduce harm. You don't stick your hand in a fire because that will reduce the harm. The getting down to the semantics of define harm doesn't get to the answer of what is better for an ethical foundation.
Is it not harming a prisoner to put them into a prison? Does that not remove their happiness?
Prisons are places of last resort, right? There always has to be a last resort. However, prisons are not a place to, at least in the UK, they are not a place designed for harm. Prisons are a place designed for rehabilitation. At least they should be until they became financial institutions across most of the Western world.
So do you not agree that
sticking somebody in a prison is not supposed to be causing that person harm? What it is supposed to be doing is reducing the harm that person can do to others and helping to rehabilitate that person so that they can possibly thrive in the future.
Okay, but you said happiness. Okay, it's going to reduce a prisoner's happiness to put them into a prison. And it's in many ways it's violating their autonomy because you're taking them and you're putting them in a place they don't want to be. So in that case, it is acceptable to violate. Hang on a second. Is it then acceptable in some cases under secular humanism to violate bodily autonomy?
As a last resort to prevent harm to other people, but again, a prison is not a place for harm. We're not putting someone there to harm them. They may not like it, but we are putting a prisoner in prison to rehabilitate them, which in the long run will actually make them a better person and reduce the harm that they have to themselves, reduce the mental health, the things that they suffer, reduce the problems that they have. They undergo therapy, they undergo training for a new job to become a beneficial and useful member of society. We don't put people in prison to harm them. We put people in prison to stop harm happening and to help that person become a useful member of society. It's an incorrect thing to say that
this is why the definitions of these words matter, because you just made all these exceptions for all the terminology used to define harm earlier. Yes, you did. It violates their autonomy to put them in a place they don't want to be.
Yeah, I didn't say harm.
Nobody can argue that
you're mixing up things.
Okay, let me finish. Nobody would be able to argue that putting a prisoner in a prison is something that they want to happen. Okay, you are taking away their happiness. Therefore, you are harming them based on your own definition of harm. Do you see why the definitions of words matter and it's not just semantics?
Again, we all know what it means, though. But again, you are missing the point of what a prison is for. It is to rehabilitate someone and to stop harm happening. that person's autonomy will be returned to them once they are rehabilitated, once they are able to use that autonomy, right? The secular humanism also has to defend other people. But you're completely missing the point of what a prison is for, and you're saying, well, you're also conflating the tenets of secular humanism with my definition of harm. I didn't say harm had anything to do with autonomy. I said one of the tenets of secular humanism is to protect individual autonomy.
I'm pointing out that was that was the standard you gave for me for why the medical experiments were wrong. But now you're saying there are examples where we can in fact violate someone's autonomy, at least for a time period. So why couldn't we do the same for a highly dangerous medical experiment? We can give them their autonomy back after the experiment because it's for the good of society.
How do you know they're going to get their autonomy back?
Exactly. No, this is a great example of Luigi showing the ridiculousness of secular humanism. They lay out these principles like, well, if it's harmful, we won't do it. If it goes against their bodily autonomy, they won't do it. So then we bring up these examples and they're like, well, that sounds ridiculous. And so then we bring up real life examples where we do violate someone's happiness, their bodily autonomy, do something harmful to them if it means it's for the greater good of the society. And Craig is too dense to realize this.
After the experiment,
maybe they will, maybe they won't. Just like
you want to go down the fallacious route. You want to go down the fallacious route. You're taking us to the fallacy of ad insurdium, where you're taking a simple statement to the ridiculous extremes. We could push things with Christianity. With all the ridiculous things they've done, saying it's okay to do a lot of things like keep a slave and things like that, because Jesus said that the slave should do as they're told and things like that. So we can't use these ridiculous examples way out of the purviews.
So of course he has to attack Christianity now because he knows he looks freaking stupid. But okay, if he wants to bring up slavery, let's talk about slavery. At one point in our history, slavery was thought to be okay. It was thought that it was okay to take away a black person's bodily autonomy, their personal happiness, and cause them harm if it meant it was for the greater good of society, which was, serving whites. At one point, as a collective, majority of people thought that was a good idea. Okay, that happened. And in fact, it still happens. It may be illegal now in this country, but it still happens. Whenever we point out these scenarios to them, they always say, well, that's ridiculous. Oh my goodness, why do you bring up these ridiculous scenarios? We're saying, well, no, it's not ridiculous. These things could happen. And in your secular humanist utopia, there's a possibility that you guys would be okay with it if we justified it to you somehow that it would be for the greater good of society.
Of secular humanism, a prison isn't designed to harm people. A prison is designed to reduce harm overall and rehabilitate people.
Based on your definition of harm,
they gave up their right. They gave up their right.
Do you want to redefine what harm means?
The laws of the lands.
Okay. Do you want to redefine harm? Do you want? Okay. Do you? Let's just go down the line.
I told you. You asked me a question.
Gentlemen, I hate to interrupt, but just because we hold on, just gentlemen, I have to interrupt just because we're not able to hear otherwise. Okay, take one deep breath.
Yeah. So you did ask me a question.
Take a deep breath. Hold on. You need to take a deep breath. Okay. Craig,
okay,
relax.
Answer the question.
Yeah. Okay. Luigi, right. I need you to give Craig.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you finished. I apologize.
Luigi, I need you to give Craig a chance to finish answering. And then I promise we'll give you the next chance to ask your question. And then Craig, I just needed to be pithy so that Luigi can ask his next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question was, do we want to change the definition of harm? No, I told you what my definition of harm is. Harm is any action, inaction, or condition that causes physical, emotional, psychological, social, or financial damage to an individual, group, or society. That is what harm is, and that is the definition that we're going to go with.
That's not what you said initially. You said happiness. So are you removing happiness from part of your definition of harm? When you take away happiness, is that no longer part of harm?
The words that I've just said, that is what we're going to go with.
Okay, so you're backtracking on the word happiness.
I would personally put happiness in there, but if you want a hard definition of harm, I have just given it to you. Would you like me to answer the question again, or are you going to keep
read the definition off the screen one more time?
So you do want me to answer
Read
the
the
question?
definition. Read the definition. You changed it from happiness. Now I want to hear the new definition.
There's not a new definition. It is just
All
a
right,
definition.
I'm moving on to a different question because this is the audience has seen what they needed to see from you. Okay,
I answered the question.
in your debate with Jim Bob,
Question that you asked and then I answered.
in your
So
debate,
this isn't a debate of
can
Jim
I
Bob. This is
please move on,
so-
please. In
I
your
do want to
debate-
give Luigi a chance to ask his question.
Okay. In your debate with Jim Bob, you said if Christians want to vote for Christians in office who implement Christian laws, they cannot. Do you still agree with this, or do
No,
you
I
want to
didn't.
backtrack from that too?
I didn't say that at all.
You did. Everybody can go watch with Jim Bob. He said that
I
if
didn't say
Christians
they
vote,
couldn't. I said anyone
Yes,
can
he
be
did.
voted in.
Okay,
put
so
in
you
laws
want to
that require-
backtrack from that too. So wait a minute. So
I probably said that they shouldn't. Would you like me to answer, or no? I probably said they shouldn't. I didn't say that they couldn't
No, you
because
did.
everyone can be voted in and put in whatever laws they want.
You did say that.
I can't decide what laws are put
You did
in.
say no.
Nobody
You
can
did say
change that.
in Christian. Okay, let me make sure I'm making the question really specific. I'm saying those Christian bureaucrats, can they implement Christian laws if they are elected by Christian people?
If they are in a position to change laws and that everyone votes on, then yes, they can.
Okay, then you
No one's gonna
definitely
be able to stop
didn't say. You said no in the debate with Jim Bob, but I appreciate you
You probably
backtracking on that.
misunderstood what I said. You probably misunderstood
Well,
because
I'll go get the
nobody,
clip.
nobody can decide what laws are made apart from the people in the position to do that. And if the people in the position that are voted in that position happen to be Christian and put a bunch of Christian values in their laws, and then that's ratified by whatever process, then that can happen and nobody can stop that. I never said that no, that can't happen.
We are at the end of the.
Now, I did cover that debate, the Jim Bob versus Craig debate. I want to say that Craig, from what I remember, I think Craig's answer was it couldn't happen. Like, it wouldn't be possible that if someone wanted to vote in Christian laws and values, if they wanted to vote in laws based on Christian ethics, I believe he said it wouldn't be possible because there would be a separation of church and state and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be possible to begin with. I believe that's what Craig said, but of course I might be wrong on that.
Where Luigi's asking questions, we're going to jump into the open dialogue. Gentlemen, the floor is all yours for open dialogue.
I'd love to go back to just the base of this is about a foundation for ethics, and the foundation for ethics on your side, Luigi, is God. And God is, if real, not a very nice deity. Like
By your standard.
Let's be honest about it. Like
By whose standard? By whose standard? Because
by
God
any
is by nature,
person's standard.
God is no by any person. God is by nature good. So anything that he does is good.
I would disagree with that. I would very much disagree with the assumption that God by his nature is good, because God has, on a whim, wiped out humanity, sent people to pillage and rape and destroy other people, told somebody to sacrifice his own son.
That's incorrect.
No, it's not.
What are you even referring to? What are you even referring to?
I mean, I'm trying to say a bunch of stuff that happened in the Old Testament.
They did not. They were not told to rape and pillage.
God told somebody to murder their own son as a test of faith.
Did he or did God provide? Do you understand the story of that? It's foretelling of Christ.
Did God tell somebody to murder their own son? Hold on. The question is, did God tell somebody to murder their own son? Yes or no?
That's, oh my goodness. Do you understand that?
Yes or no question?
It is a foretelling of
yes
Christ.
Or no question. Luigi, I would like you to answer a simple yes or no question. Did God tell somebody to murder their own son? Yes or no?
As a type of Christ who would eventually, God himself for us, as a type of that, yes. It is literally.
So I think what Craig is talking about is the story of Abraham, where God told Abraham to murder his own son Isaac as a test of faith, to which, by the way, God stopped him before he did it just to see if Abraham could trust him. God did not allow Abraham to murder Isaac. It was to test Abraham's faith. He didn't tell Abraham to do it and then allow Abraham to do it. If that's what Craig's referring to, that's the only thing I could think of.
Yes, God. So what you're saying is yes. God told somebody to murder their own son.
As a type of
God wipe out
son,
all of humanity
as
because
a
he
type,
like what's happening?
We can't have both people talking at the same time.
Yeah, I finished the question. He was still answering the last one. So the answer is yes, God told somebody to kill their own son. Second question, did God wipe out most of humanity because he didn't like what was happening?
Okay, I'm
Yes.
not giving these are these are literally complicated questions that can't just be answered yes
They're
or no.
not
I
really
have to be able to
complicated
expand.
questions.
I have to be able to
We have
expand
to
on
give
the
him a
answer.
chance to answer.
I have to be able to expand on the answer than just yes or no. I already said yes, and because God's nature is good, if he had not done
I
that,
disagree
then it
with
would have
that.
been not good. And
Can
again,
you
he had
provide
all
proof
those
that God's
years,
nature is good?
for those people to repent, and they did not.
So because they didn't do what God said, God was out to kill
By
them.
what standard are you even saying it's wrong? Can you actually tell me by what standard you're saying it's wrong?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I murder and rape as much as I want.
Are you
know
God?
how much that is?
Are you the author of
Yes.
life?
Yes, I am actually.
You're the author of life.
Yeah, in about 50 years, I invent a time machine. I go back in time and I start the Big Bang and create all life in the universe as I like. Can you disprove that?
Are you omnipotent?
Yes. Can you disprove this?
You're omnipotent.
Yes.
Okay, then I don't know. Give me a cheeseburger right now. I want a cheeseburger since you're omnipotent.
No, you don't deserve it.
I don't.
Wow, what a cruel and harsh God Craig is. Not even giving Luigi his burger. What do you think about this, guys? Do you think Craig should give Luigi a burger as a kind and generous God that he is? Sound off in the comment section below. Smash that like button if you think he should give him a burger. Now, obviously, this is all ridiculous, and now Craig has to resort to just being ridiculous and silly because he has no argument. And again, if he's referring to God flooding the earth, it was because the world was full of sinners. All the humans were committing horrible sin, murder, sexual perversion, and so he flooded the earth. Craig here wants to put it that God, like I said, just woke up on the wrong side of the bed one day and was like, you know what? These humans are just annoying me. They're just, I just don't want to deal with them right now. So I'm just gonna flood the earth and call it a day.
For my cheeseburger? Why not?
No, absolutely not. See, this is
ridiculous.
You just said God by its nature is good. I dispute that fact because
by what standard? By what standard?
Well, I was about to say by what standard?
Okay.
By the standard that wiping out all of humanity because you don't like what they are doing is not good.
He thinks his morality and he knows better than God now. That's quite blasphemous.
So do you realize what humanity was doing? Practicing cannibalism, rape, all the things. Here's what's funny about this. You complain about all the evil in the world, and then when God wipes out when God wipes out all the evil in the world, then you complain that God wiped out all the evil in the world.
Was everyone evil? Was everybody in the world?
Yes. Every single person.
An innocent child being born was not evil.
Okay.
Not every person in the world was evil, right? And here's the thing: your God planned that to happen because your God is the one that created everything and knew everything that was going to happen. So your God knew that the result of Eve eating that apple would be that lots of people in the world were evil and would not repent. Your God knew that would happen. So your God knew that he would have to wipe out all of humanity. So your God, in fact, planned for people to become
foreknowledge
evil
is not causation
and then get wiped out, meaning that your God planned to kill
still waiting on a standard. I'm still waiting on a standard for why any of this is.
Well, also, no, he told Eve, don't eat that apple. Like he said, now Eve, don't you eat that apple over there. He gave Adam and Eve free will and told them, listen, if you eat that apple, it's going to be bad. Don't do it. Eve ate the apple, and well, now here we are.
Bad. I'm still waiting on a standard. You just keep asserting.
So are you saying that wiping out people isn't bad?
I am asking you a very.
My standard is that I think genocide is bad. Do you think genocide is bad?
By what standard are you saying that? Just your opinion? Lots of people have.
My opinion is genocide is bad. What is your opinion on genocide?
Oh my goodness. By what
standard? Do you think genocide is bad or not?
By what standard? And how are you even defining genocide? By what standard?
Well, the entire everyone in the humanity was wiped out.
Notice how you don't answer the question. You just say it's my opinion.
I just answered the question, Luigi. Did you not hear the
listen to
out of my mouth?
Greg, can you tell me why we should listen to you? Why should we listen to your opinion?
Because I don't want to genocide people, because I never murdered anyone, unlike your God.
Okay. That's you've never done it, it's wrong? What kind of logic is that?
Yeah, well, here's, like I said earlier, I murder as much as I want. Whenever I feel like it, Luigi, I go out and murder. But I
Okay.
don't, right? I don't, because I don't want to murder, because I know that is a bad thing to do. I do not need the threat of hellfire and instructions from somebody that doesn't exist to know that murdering is bad.
This is actually a great point. What do you think that, like, pretty much everybody knows that murder is wrong?
Yes,
Okay. Where does that come from?
that by causing harm to people, knowing that taking away people's
We already,
suffering is,
yeah.
causing pain and suffering to someone is bad. It is bad. Are
But
you
pain and
really
suffering is
trying
okay.
to, wait, one
Suffering is
second,
okay when it's a prisoner.
Luigi, one second. Are you really trying to say, oh, we don't know if murder is good or bad?
No,
But there has to be somebody to tell us
No,
if that is good or bad. Is that what you're doing?
In my opening statement, through divine revelation, we know that God's laws have been written on our hearts. That's why we generally agree on the basic standards of morality. You, on the other hand, cannot give an account for where that comes from, why that's even here.
Yes, I can.
How?
Absolutely, I can. Evolution.
Yeah, no, based on the experiments earlier, the case studies, your evolutionary process is actually not sufficient for having a prosperous society. Or you can't even tell me what a prosperous
I'm sorry, but that's
society is.
completely incorrect. Evolution, part of evolution is having a prosperous
If
society.
secular
Did this dude really just say that evolution is how we know that murder is wrong? I gotta say that is evolution is a mystery, full of change that no one sees. If you get that reference, sound off in the comment section below. Let's continue.
Wait, hold on. I'm answering the question. Evolution is about the surviving through the harshness of your environments, and having a prosperous society is one of the things that helps us evolve through the harshness of our society. So evolution is where society comes from.
Okay, if having a prosperous society, even if I grant you whatever prosperous means, let's say I just don't press you on that. We've already established. We've already established.
Do you need a dictionary?
Hang on a second.
I'll tell you what, if you, I can send you a link to dictionary.com.
I do want to give Luigi a chance to finish that sentence. Go ahead, Luigi, finish that sentence.
If secular humanism is the peak of human evolution, then it's going to wipe us out based on the data right now of the birth rates. So even if I granted all that, even if I granted every single one of those points, even if I said, you're right, Craig, which you're not, it would mean that the peak, hang on a second. It would mean that in the peak of humanity, we're going to wipe ourselves out and be replaced by Muslims in the West. That's what it would mean, because that's what's happening in your poster child countries in Scandinavia.
Okay, so I guess you didn't listen to what I said earlier about how the countries that have realized that their birth rates are falling have put in place measures for that to stop. And the studies show that thanks to the measures, they expect the birth rate in all of these countries to increase, especially in France and Scandinavia, and many other secular countries.
What studies show that?
The studies, again, I don't have anything with me.
There's no studies that show that. The data is
right. Okay, I can
talk to you about. Have these not been
right? Okay. Wait, do you want me to answer it? If you give me 1 sec, because I did have some of my notes here with me. Right. So secular nations are rolling out the red carpet for parents with cold hard cash. Hungary, for example, gone all in with tax breaks, loan forgiveness, and even straight up cash bonuses for families to have multiple children. Nothing to do with religion there. A way to increase.
Where's the data showing it's? Where's the data showing it's succeeding? And is Hungary?
It hasn't happened yet. Studies show that the studies show that when these things are put in place, like in previous years, it increases birth rates. Having tax breaks for couples, reducing the work week and things like that actually allows for increased birth rates. Those are the studies I'm talking about. But I can link you to the articles that these come from, because I at least have those available. So parental leave policies. Countries like Germany and Sweden are champions of parental leave, aiming to increase the amount of paid time off for parents to have to allow them to have more children. This expects the birth rate to increase because parents are more likely to have time off whilst being still paid. Japan's metropolitan government is implementing the 4-day work week to specifically increase family time and increase the birth rate. This is expected by 2030 to bring the birth rate back well above the 2.0 limit. So there is many
There's
things
no
that
data.
a secular country.
There's absolutely no data.
Did you not hear
supporting-
the data is to come once they see what happened, right? What secular humanists do is they will look at what's happened, find a way to fix it. Yes, we've noticed that there's a lack in birth rates. We know that's a problem. We agree. Nobody's saying that that's not a thing. But what we are doing as secular humanists and secular nations is putting in place measures to hopefully increase the birth rate. And what we can do is we can look in a few years' time and go, has the birth rate increased as much as the studies thought that they would? No. Well, let's tweak some things, give some more time off, give some more cash breaks, and then see what happens again. We don't expect an immediate fix. We don't expect within the next 5 years there to be 1 billion more babies. We expect the birth rate to slowly increase to the point it is without having to rely on a magical deity that says murdering the entire world because he's in a bad mood is okay.
It's a non sequitur, has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But
absolutely does have everything to do with
it's basically already too late for Sweden anyway. They're so far below and that's by the way, that's including all the Muslims that are there, all the Muslims that are having babies. So that
whatever it's too late. You've just made a very big claim there. I would have it is too late for Sweden because their government.
You realize 1.43 versus 2. Really, it's 2.1 is what you need. 2.1 to replace each one of the parents.
0.01.
2.1. 2.1 is it. Yeah. Actually, a lot of sociologists say 2.5. But whatever, it doesn't matter. 1.43, including all the Muslims that are now 10% of the population, they're having all these babies. So they're already. I mean, like I said, in 30 years, they've gone from 1% Muslim to 10% Muslim. So by the time 2030 comes around, they're going to be 15-20% Muslim. So it's already too late. They're already being replaced. Second, the peak of human development, secular humanism, is already being replaced by religious populations.
Okay, it's like you're not hearing the words that I'm saying, and you just made a massive claim that it's too late when it's not. When the Scandinavian government disagree with you.
Well, of course they're going to say they disagree.
The Scandinavian governments, all the Scandinavian countries, have literally put in place measures to increase birth rates. That doesn't involve just bringing in a bunch of religious people.
Luigi keeps bringing up these points like this is going to lead to a replacement of the Scandinavian population, and all Craig goes, you didn't hear what I have to say, and then just repeat the point that he's been saying. And it's like you keep saying the same point, and Luigi keeps rebutting it, and you just keep bringing up the same point again. Why not address what he's actually saying?
It's too late. It's false.
They've done that in Japan, and it didn't work. They've done that in Japan.
It is working in Japan. It actually is working in Japan. I just read to you earlier what Japan's doing and how it is working in Japan.
Where's the data that says that it's working in Japan?
I can link you the article from the Times. It's actually what I've got a lot of this done from. They've been studying, and the birth rate in Japan has actually been going up in the past few years compared to what it was.
Probably because of increased immigration.
No, actually, it's not. It's because of the initiatives put in place to increase birth rates. Here's the thing, there's a low birth rate. There's a low birth rate, and it's because of secular humanism. Well, maybe it is because of the influence of secular humanism, but they've noticed there's a problem, and we've noticed that might not help humans flourish as much as we want, and they are doing things to make it better. So attacking a point that is in the process of being improved is a ridiculous way to go.
Again, there's no data to support it. This is all tentative. He's just asserting things. Of course, the nations are going to make efforts to try to stop their inevitable demise. Of course, the nations are going to try
inevitable demise. Can you please prove that that's an inevitable demise? Because you keep making the claims that it's gonna happen.
You need to have at least 2 babies per woman.
As we established earlier, I'm the only one that has the powers to time travel.
It is currently decreasing at an increasing rate. Last year it was 1.45. It's down to 1.43. It's still decreasing. And
next year it might go up because they have put in place things to happen, right? Here's the thing, having babies takes time.
Yeah,
it doesn't just take 9 months, because a lot of people won't get pregnant in 9 months. All right. Sometimes it can take years for couples to have babies, but the things that have been put in place have been put in place. There is more time off for parents. There is more paid paternity leave for parents. There is more help, more tax breaks. There is more reasons for people to have babies, and that is what they are doing. We have to look again in 5 years.
But
we have to look again in 5 years once these things that have been put in place have been tested to see, right, has the birth rate increased? Do we need to do other things? Is there anything else we can do to help increase the birth rate that doesn't involve bringing in religious zealots?
Even if all of this starts to bring the birth rates up, you said in your debate with Jim Bob that if a man wants to leave his family, as a secular humanist, you have no leg to stand on to tell him that he shouldn't do that because it's going to make him happy to leave his family. Did you still stand by that?
Did you know, yeah, no one can stop a man doing what he wants, but did you know that the highest rate of divorce is actually in Christian families?
That's not true. And it's especially not true.
100% true.
It's especially not true. Hang on a second. There's a difference between being nominally Christian and actually being Christian.
Oh, no. We don't get to do the no true Scotsman fallacy.
It's not no true Scotsman. It's not no true Scotsman because, hang on a second.
You're here to defend Christians.
Hang on a second.
That includes Christians in Africa. Hold on. That includes the Christians in Africa.
I do need to, all right, just need to reset it here just so that people want to be able to hear you guys, but if they're talking over each other, they won't be able to hear either of you.
Yeah. I want to point out that it's not a no true Scotsman. Hang on a second. It's not a no true Scotsman.
If I could finish.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I think.
My sentence, please. Thank you.
Right. So if it's on the no true Scotsman statement, if you want to wrap that up, but otherwise, if you say he used that fallacy and he wants to address it before you move to a new point, then I want to go to Luigi.
Yeah, no, my point is that you're not here to just defend one bit. You're here to defend every single Christian in the world. That includes the Christians in Africa.
Is this about the no true Scotsman fallacy?
Yeah, yes, that is. Yeah, you say it's because
so if someone calls
it's only mine. So it's every single Christian in the world, regardless of the denomination, is who you are here to defend.
So by this logic, if you call yourself a secular humanist, but you don't subscribe to any of the tenets of secular humanism, then by Craig's standard, he has to defend that person based on what he just said. Because he said, if you call yourself a Christian, but you don't subscribe to Christian values, then I still have to defend that person. The reason why it's not a no true Scotsman fallacy,
that's not what I said.
That is what you just said. Well, okay, then say it again.
Completely what I said.
Okay, go ahead. Try again.
I've said you don't get to pick and choose which version of Christianity you're here to defend. You have to defend all of them.
I'm not defending a version of Christianity. I'm defending Christianity. If you call yourself a Christian, but you do things that are not Christian, then you're not a Christian. Just like if you call yourself just like if you call yourself a secular humanist, but you don't subscribe to secular humanism, you're not a secular humanist. Okay,
but there is
hang on a second. Let me finish.
That disagree with each other about what Christianity is.
Let me finish. The same studies that talk about Christian divorces, which when we're talking about nominal Christians, yes, it is about on par with the rest of the world. However, the same studies show that the couples who pray together every single day, their divorce rate is less than 1%. Less than 1% for the couples that actually practice Christianity. Less than 1%.
Right. But overall, Christians have a higher rate of divorce.
First of all, that's not true. And second of all,
it's 100% true. You can't deny this. This is a fact. The highest rate of Christian divorces comes from Christians.
Luigi just said, yeah, but those are nominal Christians. When you take the ones that actually practice Christianity and pray together every night, well, then that's not true. And Craig's just like, no, it's true. It's all Christians. Craig just wants to be right, so he just ignores everything Luigi has to say. But then if you say, well, Stalin was secular, but he wasn't a secular humanist, he'll use the no true Scotsman fallacy all day. But when Luigi uses it, oh, well, no. Because Craig is just begging. He's desperate for any type of win.
That's a fact.
It's not a fact.
Especially in America. And even if it was 100% a fact.
It's not a fact. And again,
right. What do you mean by nominal Christians? Could you just define?
Yeah, Christians? People who say they're Christians who don't follow any Christian values. They don't.
Right. There's a bunch of different sects that say different things about Christian values. So you might think Christian values are different to a different sect of Christianity that thinks different
No,
Christian values.
the definition of a Christian has been the same for roughly about 1600 years at the Council of Constantinople in 381 when we established the Nicene Creed that every single Christian subscribed to. If you do not subscribe to that, then you are not a Christian.
No, there's many Christian sects that don't subscribe to Nicene Creed.
That's not
with that
okay.
council.
I didn't say
that
Nicaea
council
II.
did not
I didn't
include
say
all
Nicaea
Christians.
II. I said Constantinople in 381.
And then you
not
said the
Nicaea.
Nicene Creed.
So Craig acts like a complete child. All right. This dude looks like he's about, I don't know, 50 years old. And he acts like a child, the maturity level of a child. And whenever he complains about God and blasphemes God, he sounds like a spoiled brat who doesn't want to listen to his parents. You know, like those bratty teenagers, when it's like a parent tells them something like, hey, don't go to that party. And then they'll be like, well, didn't you used to party when you were my age? You're a freaking hypocrite, blah, blah, blah. You're not fair. That's exactly how Craig sounds. Craig is spoiled and entitled to the fact that he thinks he knows better than God, that his morality is better than God. He knows better than God, which is horrible. And he says the highest divorces are with Christians. Yeah, again, haven't seen the studies, but I have to press X to doubt. But what did you think today? But what did you think about this debate? How do you think Craig did against Orthodox Luigi? Sound off in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you really enjoyed it, because if you did enjoy it and you do subscribe, I put 2 videos a day, many of which is content very similar to this, and I have much more stuff on my channel that I think you'll enjoy. So please, give it a look and binge away.